Good morning, everyone. So happy to be in Sicily, Italy. Sorry, I mean Denver, Colorado. I'm Hamid Hajian, founder and CEO of Zebel. Very excited about the panel discussion we have today. We are going to talk about how to go from Excel to excellence in Precon. I used to be a Precon manager for a large GC, and I was the Excel guru for the team, and built all kinds of fancy spreadsheets and kind of hit the ceiling of what you can do in a spreadsheet. And that's why I built Zebel. And I'm so happy to be accompanied here by a group of amazing Precon leaders here to share their insights with you about their experience in a spreadsheet-based Precon operation and how to get out of it and upgrade from that. So we are going to start with a quick question. If you guys can go to the Slido or take the QR code and answer that question, that would be great. So the question is, where do you store your historical data? And basically, is it in all the spreadsheets, one giant spreadsheet, or an actual database? So far we have 50%, half of the people, like confetti at a Sicilian wedding. Great, so we are going to go back to the results here, but I want to start doing an introduction of the panel. So we wanted to have some fun and make it a little bit less formal. So I gave their bios to ChatGPT and asked to produce a two-liner with a Godfather team. So I'm going to have them read through their own Godfather bios so you get to know them better. We can start here from Sean. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is definitely going in the next RFP or RFQ. In the construction underworld, Sean reigns as a godfather with nearly 2 decades of experience. From budget inception to final agreement, he orchestrates every move in pre-construction with the precision of a true Don. With projects spanning sectors and states, Sean's legacy is etched from coast to coast. Hailing from Florida and educated at Michigan State University, his passion for pre-construction was forged in the fires of Ohio, where he honed his craft as an esteemed estimator. With Sean at the helm, projects are executed with finesse and success befitting of a true construction godfather.
Thank you.
Happy mind shorter than Sean's. Meet Ricky Holak, the construction maestro, weaving his way from general contracting to development with godfather-like finesse. With meticulous planning and collaborative spirit, he orchestrates seamless project execution. Amidst building empires, Ricky retreats to the mountains, his sanctuary of serenity.
Meet John, the construction Don Reid, a veteran of the construction scene with over 20 years of experience. As the director of pre-construction at UrbanCore Construction, John's expertise was forged in the field with Hensel Phelps and DPR. When he's not busy overseeing projects, he's tackling endurance sports or diving into his kids' latest adventures, because even a Don needs a break from building empires.
I'm Darrell, the constructor Torres, evidently. With 25 years of industry prowess, reigns supreme as a senior director of pre-construction at the Irvine company. From evaluating sites to project buyouts, he orchestrates every detail, ensuring seamless execution from inception to triumph, and he does it all with a wink and a hard hat.
Behold, the esteemed Mike Annist, a titan of construction with a legacy spanning 15 years as both a general contractor and owner's representative. With a background steeped in operations of mighty general contractors across heavy civil, industrial, and commercial domains, he now reigns supreme, orchestrating the pre-construction estimates for Amazon's North American delivery stations with the authority befitting a godfather of his stature.
Thank you very much. We had another panelist who couldn't make it, but sent a video. You're going to watch it at the very end of the panel. So we are in an ever-changing world. Technology has been coming up. These days, everyone's talking about AI and all kinds of technology. But somehow in pre-construction, we are stuck in spreadsheets. And that's what even the poll shows. Like up until we switched the slides, it was like half of the audience are still in spreadsheets. And that was just scattered spreadsheets, and the rest of them were just one giant spreadsheet for putting together the historical data in one spreadsheet. And that's why we built Zebel. And for those of you who are not familiar with Zebel, it's the most advanced Precon platform to leverage historical data for conceptual estimating. And with that, I want to start asking a question with Sean. So one of the problems with the Excel-based or spreadsheet-based operations in Precon is it's very difficult to maintain consistency of both quality and format of the outputs when you have multiple people in your department. Can you tell us about your experience with that?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, one of the issues or the challenges we face with the Excel-based estimating is it gives you, it's a benefit and a curse, I guess, right? It gives you the flexibility to modify things as fitted for clients, but also we want to standardize our templates and use those consistently across the department. What happens, though, especially at Coastal, we have 3 different business units across the state with everyone with their own estimating department in those business units. So it further gets refined and customized and modified for these different estimate templates as we kind of progress through the evolution of the estimating deliverables. The challenge is taking that data when we're looking to do a comp set, to do a comp estimate, or do a quick conceptual budget. We're fortunate at Coastal to do 90% of all of our work is multifamily. So we have good historical data out there, but it takes a lot of time to massage and manipulate all these different estimate formats to make a consistent report that it has, some confidence in what the data we're able to pull and comp. So it's a big issue, and it takes a lot of time, and it's not something you can just give to a junior estimator. It needs to be a senior person that understands what they look at. Obviously, we're all stretched, and that time it takes to do a quick comp is very challenging, and one of the issues that we faced at Coastal with the estimating in Excel.
Right, thanks for sharing that. And I want to go to the other end of the panel, ask Mike about your operation. So you are responsible for putting together hundreds of estimates every year for Amazon last delivery stations. And you are specifically responsible for conceptual estimates when you have a back of a napkin sketch and referencing historical data for that. What are the challenges you are facing in finding your historical data and then referencing them in your estimates?
Sure. Yeah, the large challenge we have is we have many different prototypes or templates of a similar project, and having a platform where we can quickly filter and find relative projects. So we have projects, when we look at conceptual projects, we know in the past we've done similar ones like these. It's finding ones that have been leveled and is equal to the same types of project that we're currently looking at. So being able to quickly filter through information in Excel when they're sitting in, maybe 10 or 15 different sheets, it's an extreme challenge. So just finding a ways to quickly find 3 to 5 similar projects so that we can start quickly analyzing, this is what we paid in the past, this is how we're adjusting it, and this is how we can deliver a more confident estimate for our stakeholders.
Great. And I want to go to Ricky now. So you work at Prometheus, a mixed-use office and multifamily developer in California. And can you tell us about the knowledge gap between senior leaders of the company and more junior members of the team as it relates to Precon? And what are the challenges you have faced, and how Zebel has helped you with that?
Yeah, of course. So the way that we operate is we don't have a separate pre-construction. We work on a project from the initial underwriting, from inception through course of construction to the end. So for myself or some of my coworkers, there might be a large period of time, listen to Ed's talk, the length of time of these projects, 3 years, might be over a year, maybe a year and a half, where I don't estimate a conceptual job. And now I'm thrown back into it and looking at a job in the SD stage, doing a conceptual estimate on it. I don't know what the current pricing is on a number of these line items. I know what the jobs that I've been working on in course of construction that went out to bid, went out to contract 2 years ago are. My colleague might have just gone through a GMP effort, might have all that data from the same market as close to current time frame as possible, and that data is what we want to use. So having a tool like Zebel where I know that I can go pick that job, comp off that job, and I know that then there's another job that has something else more similar about it that I can comp off that. The senior executive or the Precon specialist that's touching these jobs all the time might know all these numbers off the top of their head, but where we're seeing these jobs through the whole workflow or we're not consistently touching every job, it's really a tool that allows us to level our knowledge.
Great. And we are all in Precon, and we all know that Precon is not just about number crunching and producing numbers. It's really the business development arm of the company. That's where all of these projects start. That's how the projects, the business comes into the company. And wanted to ask John a question about how does showcasing your Precon capabilities to prospective companies, clients you work with, has helped you win more jobs?
Sure. Like you mentioned, in Precon, we're typically one of the first calls that a customer will make, when they've got a new opportunity for a deal. No disrespect to any of the business development folks in the audience, but let's just face it, it's easier a lot of times for the customers to call us when they want quick numbers. When we adopted Zebel about 6 months ago, we were so excited with the new platform that we started reaching out and setting up meetings and presentations with a lot of our repeat customers. We were just so excited to show it off. So before we were even done loading up our full database, cost database into the platform, we set up these presentations not even really knowing how to operate the system. In one of those, a client brought a real opportunity that we could run numbers for, so we did in real time with them in the conference room. And in about, 20 minutes, we had a very thorough conceptual number that they were able to see sort of behind the curtains of how that was put together. They could see the composition of the numbers and what data points it was being pulled from. And so it was, and this is a true story, they actually awarded us the job on the spot. Repeat client, so I've got to qualify that a little bit. But we're working with them now in a design assist capacity, helping to steer the design into the price points that we established while we were in the room with them. So a true example of early collaboration, so it paid off.
Great, thanks for sharing that. And Darrell, you have worked at different companies, Clark Construction, now Irvine Company. You must have seen a lot of different Excel templates. What are the common problems or challenges with those different Excel templates put together by different people? And what's the difference now you've seen, now that you have gone away from that Excel world?
Yeah, well, it's not uncommon. Typically, when you're working on projects of scale, it takes a lot of people, right, to put together hundreds of millions of dollars on one project. And so you got a lot of hands in the template. And so the question becomes, especially as someone who's quarterbacking the effort, is who touched it last? Do they follow the naming hierarchy? Is the total that I have on my detail page going to match what's on my summary, or am I going to be spending time that I could be spending researching alternate means or methods, or scoping a subcontractor more accurately? Am I going to be spending that time instead, looking for errors within the template? So really kind of taking away from the overall process. Having worked with you in the past, Hamid, I might have broken a template or two that you had to fix for me. But so just having that consistent, and then is it the most current form of the template, right? Or who's the shepherd of it? So you kind of get into all these little nuances. Does it work on one side of the country or the other? That becomes a challenge. So now that we're kind of at Irvine Company and the apartment development group migrated to Zebel, it's not a question. It's always the same output. And the input of the information is up to us to kind of scrub and get over. And the result is reliable.
And even if the format is consistent, just I remembered in my Precon days, even finding the file, you have to ask around which folder should I look for. And there's a subfolder, and then within the subfolder you see a bunch of Excel files. And here's the final construction cost. Then there's revision 2, revision 3, final, just figuring out which one is which, and all of the challenges that comes with it. And a lot of administrative work that you end up actually doing, and it's not really Precon work. I want to go back to John. So I'm a Precon leader, and I want to go beyond Excel or whatever spreadsheet system I'm using. How should I choose the software? How did you choose the right software? How do you know what's the right software for you?
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is don't do it like we did. We got very lucky. We ended up buying the first thing that we researched. So I'm probably not the best person to get advice from. But the truth is, our core business model at UrbanCore is mid to large scale new construction, multifamily, affordably financed predominantly. And so just like the confetti at the Sicilian wedding, we had a lot of consistency across the product type. So we naturally had a lot of consistent data. The problem was that it was just scattered around and we couldn't find anything in a reasonable amount of time. And so we spent a lot of time and energy and effort, pulling together our own historical cost database, and we used it for a little bit. But the truth is that it ended up just becoming one more spreadsheet that I could break all the formulas in, which I did quite often. So when we found out about Zebel in the first introductory call, it was immediately apparent, that we were speaking to some folks that come from a pre-construction background, and it revealed itself immediately when we were able to speak the same language. Really the genesis of Zebel came out of all the struggles and hardships that we were going through, and so a lot of shared experience there. And then of course just the platform itself, for our purposes, was ideal because we needed to systemize our data first to then be able to actually use it and optimize it. So, but outside of pre-construction and outside of Zebel, what I would say to answer the question, if I had it to do over again, and I was trying this time, we just got lucky, I would say, choose a tool, choose a platform that you're able to build a scalable process around, which is, we've had a lot of success doing that around Zebel.
That's great to hear that you kind of start with your goal, right? What you're going to try to achieve with that piece of software. Is it for your conceptual estimating? Is it for your detail? Is it for your takeoff? What problem do you have that you're trying to solve with it? And I want to ask Mike about that. What's your overarching goal of collecting your data, putting in a database? What are you trying to achieve with that?
Sure. Our goal, like everyone else, is to have a database where we have all the information. When someone asks us, hey, what are these 5 projects previously cost, or these 10 projects? And being able to quickly pull, I think, is the goal probably of everyone in this room. And just like anyone else, we struggle with it. We build the new sheet that's supposed to be the master one that then becomes the outdated one. So our goal is, as an estimating team, to deliver consistent estimates. Doesn't matter who the estimator is. That was one challenge when we didn't have a database type system, is everyone was slightly different, doing different templates, different formats, and it's really hard to deliver solid information to our stakeholders when you're seeing variable between 2 estimates on a very similar project, or even sometimes the same project that would happen 1 year and then 2 years later, it's a completely different set of information. So a database for us helps us create that certainty and the consistency in the data that we're using time and time again. And it really helps, what we're trying to prove is confidence that we can actually deliver this project for a certain cost and we'll get this sort of payback is the confidence that we're trying to deliver internally to our stakeholders.
Yeah, it is critical to develop that database, but the question is, how do you find the time to do it, right? Because everyone is super busy, especially with those shovel-ready projects. You're talking to subcontractors, working through your budgets, and now this is a big housekeeping project. I remember 7, 8 years ago when I was in Precon, we embarked on this journey, and very quickly we realized that this is a very tedious, time-consuming task to go back and look up all of our drawings, the Excel spreadsheets that we had put together before by different people. Now we have to consolidate all of it into just one spot. So, Sean, how do you find the time to do that? Like, how do you do it?
The short answer is we don't have time to do it. So when I met with the Zebel team originally, it really took me, I think I asked the question maybe 3 or 4 times, how do you get the data to create our database? And how much time is it going to take for me to, or someone from my team dedicated to get you facilitate the information, to standardize the data, and to come up with these, ultimately come up with a successful database? And Hamid said, just send us the information. Like, just send you the estimates. Like, don't reformat. No, just send us whatever you have, as many as you want, and we'll do the work from there. I was super skeptical. Well, what if I don't have I have a project that's 5 years ago. Really, I have the final cost, the GMP final cost estimate, but I don't have a unit matrix. Oh, send me the drawings. We'll take care of it. I said, all right. So we went down the path. I said, all right, I'm going to show this guy. I'm going to send him 40 projects and see what he does. And remarkably, several weeks later, for something that would take months and months for a dedicated team internally to do, several weeks later, we had a working database, and it was consistent, and you go back and fact-checked it, it was aligned. It was apparent it was somebody behind the scenes, the Zebel team, they have the Precon knowledge. They know what they're looking at. It's not just someone, some person that knows how to create macros and run Excel spreadsheets. It's someone with the knowledge of the construction and Precon and what they're looking at to make those consistencies. It was mind-blowing, honestly, to get the information back.
Hopefully I didn't offend you when I told you to send us the junk drawer. We'll clean it up. So going to Darrell with another question. So again, you have great experience with Precon, different companies. And when you build your Excel templates and you kind of get emotionally attached to it, oh, this is my thing, I've been adding more bells and whistles to it. There's this macro here, this formula talks to that, it automatically updates here and there. How do you let go of it?
Yeah, kind of similar to what Sean had mentioned. I'm very much about seeing or understanding. I want to see the sausage being made. I want to understand how it's going to work. So having those similar conversations with members of your team one-on-one, scheduling one-on-one sessions to understand, A, how does the software work, and then B, as you get information, how can we provide it to you as efficiently as possible, consistently as possible, to make it as easy on your team as well to get it in there so that they're not having to map things. And then what's the time that's needed to get things up to date. But I've been surprised by how, again, consistent the information is. And then because from a developer's perspective, the job cost reports on projects that I have, those get updated monthly. So I can take not only the milestone estimates and enter them into the system and have those entered in, but take those job cost reports real time that are coded the same as the estimates and track line by line how things are moving to a point where the project is bought out. So it's really been invaluable.
Great. I got one more question for Ricky, and then we are going to watch that video from the absent panelists. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. So you can use the Slido to submit your questions. So Ricky, I want to ask you about the conceptual estimating in particular. Estimating is challenging, and I would say conceptual estimating is even more because you have basically nothing. It's sometimes a cartoon drawing, or maybe when I was in Precon, I would just receive a paragraph. Like, here's the kind of project we're looking at. Can you give me a number? And so how do you put together budgets that they can't refuse?
Yeah, Hamid, I'd say more often than not, the budget is being refused. Especially now more than ever, it's really hard to get these multifamily deals that we work on to pencil. Quite frankly, they make no financial sense right now. So we really need construction to be part of the project team. We need it to be an integrated project team. We can't just be given a design and asked to price it. We can't just be given a paragraph and asked to price it. We need to be able to provide input. As a design-forward company, brand experience focused, we have a mandate to not design by spreadsheet. I would love to just come up with the most efficient building, price that, build that, be awesome. We can't do that, that's not reality. But we can come up with these key metrics about the building. We can look at these efficiencies. We can figure out the things that really drive costs. And we can figure out what are these things that drive costs that don't detract from the experience of the building, don't detract from what we're trying to build. And Zebel allows us to do that. The tough part is as you make these integrated project teams and as you go to this more integrated process, you need to price more revisions, you need to price more options, you need to do it quickly, you need to have accuracy, it needs to be reliable. So as you get more integrated, it gets harder, it gets more challenging, there's more pressure. You need a tool to do that, and Zebel's a tool that allows us to do that and allows us to get to this data-supported number on a project that we were able to figure out these efficiencies on that starts to make a lot more sense, and then the number's not refused.
Great, yeah, thank you very much. So before we start watching the video, I wanted to make an announcement. So in the past couple of years that we started Zebel, we started with a particular sector of the market. It was multifamily, apartment developers, and general contractors. And over the last few years, we have been reached out a lot by non-multifamily companies because they loved what they saw, and but we weren't really prepared to serve them. But now I'm excited to announce that we are now expanding outside of multifamily, as we talked about. Mike talked about how they're using it for their last mile delivery stations, the warehouses, and would love to partner with a whole new group of customers now to work with in any non-residential or residential sectors. And with that, I want to start playing that quick video we got from the sixth panelist who couldn't make it from an organization in New York. So if you can play the video.
Do you track your historical data?
Sure I do.
Good. Because an estimator who doesn't track his data can never be a real estimator. You don't have Zebel. I want you to sign up and set up your Zebel database. In a few hours, this client is going to get their estimate.
It's too late. They want a full-blown budget.
I'm going to make him a budget he can't refuse. Go to the expo hall and talk to the Zebel folks. Their booth is just around the corner. You can't miss it. They wear all yellow outfits. Ask them about napkins to numbers and minutes. Tell them Godfather sent you, okay?
Okay.
Don't forget Zebel.
Well, with that, I think we have a few minutes for Q&A. Okay, great. So the first one, do you capture historical data from final cost completed projects only, or do you capture estimated project costs that did not move forward into construction? Anyone on the panel wants to take that? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's value. As long as you understand kind of where that project was in the stream of time, you're always looking to kind of round out your database so that, different product types, even if you didn't end up building them, but you put the same discipline and structure into putting together the estimate, it makes sense to benchmark it.
Yep. Next one, are you going to demo Zebel in action? Not here, but please stop by the booth. I'll be happy to give you a demo. And does Zebel talk with any accounting software on the transition side to operations to make that process simple? We currently have integration with Procore financials. That means if you have your budgets in Procore financials, we do have an integration with them, and we are integrating with other ERP systems, accountings, in the coming weeks and months. Next question. Considering the previous presentation, do you account for inflation over time to normalize your historical estimates to build new conceptual estimates? Yes, we do that. Cost indexing, exactly how it laid it out. So every project that goes to the database gets timestamp, and it uses a cost index to escalate it accordingly. Does Zebel replace Excel as an estimate template leveling software, or is it purely used for organizing data for historic cost information? Anyone on the panel wants to take that? Or I can talk to it. Go ahead.
I've used the compare feature in the software. Oftentimes I'm comparing to my own product, considering that we've got millions of square feet of product that I can compare to, so I can look at a project that was built in the same area, escalate it and compare it to something I'm looking at currently. So, and then you've got the market feature as well that kind of washes the information to give you a snapshot of what the market's doing.
Yeah, so basically it's got 3 layers in it. There's a database component, then there's a benchmarking component, and a conceptual estimating. So we take all of the historical spreadsheets, turn it into that database. And then you have that compare feature where you get to benchmark your cost against across different projects, both internally and externally. You get to compare your cost against our other customers in an anonymous way. We aggregate that cost across all of our customer base and anonymize it, so you can see, they can compare your cost of division 6 per square foot, per unit, different units of measures in a certain geography, and see how your cost compares with everyone else. And the third layer is the conceptual estimating piece, where you get to plug in some key parameters of a new project and then grab any of the projects in your database as comps, and it would put together a budget for you quickly. The next question, I think we talked about the first one at the top. I'm trying to read it here. Do historicals from pre-COVID matter? We discussed this yesterday. Anyone wants to talk about it?
So usually, to the question I was answering, we're comping off the most recent similar project. Given the volume that I think most of us do, we have similar projects with similar attributes from post-COVID. The shorter period of time that we can inflate something over, the more I prefer that, the more comfortable I am with that. I'm sure Ed could probably tell us a little better, but if I can comp off a job that was priced 6 months ago, that's better than comping off a job that was 3 years ago, COVID aside, and trying to apply the right escalation to that. The big thing for these comps is that I can have a job that was priced 6 months ago and one that was priced a year ago, and that one a year ago, maybe the garage is more similar than the one that was 6 months ago. So I'm going to choose that I want that component of the building from a longer period of time ago rather than that job that was closer, and then they'll each have different escalation applied. So am I going back to pre-COVID jobs personally? No, there's enough data since then.
Great. The next question is, can you highlight what's next for Zebel? Something perhaps that Zebel does not do yet, but is coming in the future. Yes, we have an exciting roadmap for product development ahead of us. One thing I can mention here is, if you think about moving from Excel to a database, it gets a lot easier to reference your data with few clicks. But even better than that is to talk to your database. Imagine just like how you talk to ChatGPT and just ask all kinds of questions you want. Imagine that kind of interface with these large language models and AI capabilities that's available these days, to be able to just ask your database, what was my most expensive project in the last 3 years? What was the cost of Windows per unit for project X? Give me the average cost of drywall per square foot for my Southern California projects for the last 3 years, and just getting that kind of information ready. That's on the horizon coming up.
All right, well, let's give a hand for Hamid and the Zebel panel.